Hello, welcome back. This is Art of Cycling, although we're going to be dealing with other art today. These are two pieces that were done before the Tour started. That was about the one that finished right before the Tour de France and Tour de France films. And this piece, today we're going to be working on this stained glass. No, that's a whole other project. On these Manhattans, cocktails, dessert drinks, and I'll talk about that in a second. Plus, I have two more sets of paper ready for the printing. So we're going to get started on first these martini glasses. So I'm going to reset the camera and we'll come back to that in a sec. In the background, you're going to be hearing the World Championships, the women's race. You know, I may not be painting it, but I still want to know what happened. All right, the next part of this is I'm going to use a little chance. So I've got my dice right here, and I need to come up with 6 dessert or 6 cocktails. So of course we're going to have number 1 is going to be espresso martini. They're ridiculously popular. I'm going to give that the letter E, and I'll explain that in a second. 2, we'll do a dirty martini. We'll do a Cosmo. Then we will do a Manhattan. Not your typical after dinner drink, but still. So we need 2 more. Of course, we've got a dirty martini. We can just do a martini. And that can't be an M, so that's going to be a T for teeny. And then the 6th one will be a lemon drop. And of course, that'll be an L. So these 6 letters, I'm going to roll the dice. Now I got to find a pencil. I don't usually use pencils, so. But my father left me, one of my legacies is a whole stash of these mechanical pencils. So the idea, and I'll be using this idea again on these, the wine glass that this block is for. So here I'm going to shift again. All right, so the idea is I will simply roll the dice. So 3, and then come over to the painting. And I'm going to put, so that was 3, right? So a Cosmo. So this first one will be a Cosmo. Then we have a 5, so that's going to be a martini. And I'll just keep doing this all the way through. That one came up a 6, even though it went on the other surface. Wasn't that the game in board games? If the dice went off the table, you had to roll again. So we have 3 again, so another Cosmo. And the whole idea with this, because I didn't want to overthink the color relationship of each drink. So 4, so that's going to be a Manhattan. So I thought, well, hey, rather than be worried about having another martini, that's right, martinis are teas. So rather than worry that I would establish a pattern or, overthink it or just get too involved, I thought I'd use this idea created by the composer. That's a dirty martini. John Cage, who used a lot of chance in his work. And it was part of abstract expressionism and post-abstract expressionism to start letting chance become a factor in the artwork. And of course, using the pencil, I'll be able to just paint right over these letters, and the viewer, and hopefully the eventual owner of the painting, will never know the system that I use, unless of course they see this video. So rather than bore you with the ongoing process, I'll switch to time-lapse and get this all labeled up, and then we'll switch to the blank paper. You can never find the camera, but that to your left there, the blank page, my left too for that matter. And then that's the next part of today's endeavor. So just to show you, we got Cosmo, then Martini, then Lemon Drop, Cosmo again, Manhattan, another Martini, Dirty Martini, another Lemon Drop, Espresso, back and forth. But see here, because we're doing chance, we've got two Cosmos in a row, a Dirty, and then a Teeny, and then an Espresso, and another Dirty. So, but then we got two more Dirties, so there's a little L shape of Dirty. But that's the function of random. You know, I would not have done that. And at this point, I am resisting the urge to go, no, that's not going to work. And I do reserve that right to go now. So I'm going to go on and finish doing this, and I'll be back when I start painting this one. All right, so I decided, because there's a couple days of drying time between printing these things and then being able to paint on them, that I would go ahead and start printing these blank sheets of paper. So sorry the camera is, but I didn't want to do verticals. So I've laid out little marks along the top here to help me stay aligned the way I want to. So because it's going to take a long time to print and dry, particularly, this is very bright, sparkly, particularly in this heat and humidity, I want to get two done right off the bat. So clearly this is a wine glass, and the idea is I'm going to play around with the idea of either doing, just as I said with the Manhattan ones or the Martini glass ones, I didn't want a pattern to develop with the variety of cocktails. In the case of the wine glasses, because I was thinking just going for, I was going to try to distinguish between a Sauvignon Blanc and a Chardonnay and play around with that kind of level of color. Then I was just going to do rosé, white, and red wines. And that way I would, but I did want to make sure, I'm going downhill. I do want to make sure, like in that case, because I wanted to make sure I had four. If I had three, then it would just be a row of reds, a row of pinks, a row of whites, or however I decided to do it. So, in this case, by having four, it'll go red, pink, white, red, pink, white, red, pink, and there'll be these diagonal lines of variety of wine colors. I think. Conversely, on the larger one, I'm debating that I may do it again randomly by using the dice. In that case, it would be, say, 1 and 6 were red, and 2 and 5 were rose. I don't know yet. Haven't jumped off that bridge yet. One of my favorite expressions. I always call it, rather than we'll solve that problem when we get to it, we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. So of course, watching me print this isn't super interesting, so I'm going to switch to time lapse for a bit. And check back with you in a little bit. Alright, so rather, in the interest of not making this so long, boy, did I have some downhill problems. And there's not a lot I can do about it. I might be able to make a little bit of correction when I paint, but another thing is I'll just have to look at it and decide if it bothers me enough. Here, I'll mute this a little bit. Yeah, there you go. You know, on earlier ones I had used the level to kind of get an indication, but part of this whole thing is its immediacy, and so a little bit of mistake, as long as it's not too severe, is perfectly fine. I like my work to have that immediacy, you know. Even in the large figurative work, there is very little, there's certainly no preliminary paintings, no studies, none of that. Oftentimes, if there are sketches, I'm combining a couple of sketches from various sources in order to create the piece, because I really like all of the development, all of the solutions to happen on the surface, and I like for you, the viewer, to see those solutions. Oh, that one shifted. It's the first time. But, see a little double dip there. That's the printing of this one. So I want to stop this video here so that one doesn't get too long. And then I will shift over to painting the ones that have the martini glasses that we randomly assigned drinks to. I could go ahead and do the random on this now because I can label them without touching the wet ink. But this ink is going to take a day or two, maybe 3, but it will take me easily that long to paint this piece, which is why I wanted to get these done before I started working on this, so that this one has time to dry, or these have time to dry while I get this one done, and then I can switch back. This new approach has necessitated some of that kind of thinking that I've never had to do before. Neither here nor there. But, so thanks for taking the time to watch. Be sure to subscribe so you'll get to see these as they progress. And as always, all of the work is for sale. I think my cycling season, painting-wise, is over. There's still grand tours and such to go. But anyway, thanks for taking the time. Give a subscription. Check out my website, and I'll talk to you all soon.